All right, y'all. Welcome to Mega Agent Mastery Tuesday. I'm your host, Jason Will, real estate broker with Blueprint Realty Company. We are joined by Diana Will. Welcome, Diana Will from Mortgage Right. She's a senior loan officer with Mortgage Right. But before that, in her prior life, she started out as a brand new agent on my team and then was the qualifying broker for a time. So she's got a unique I think, approach to the mortgage industry because a lot of times I hear her counseling agents on contracts and a lot of different things. So she knows a lot more than your typical loan officer because she's been on our side of the fence. Also, in case you don't know this, you're watching the replay. Diana does a lot of rescue loans. So there's a lot of folks out there that get denied and Diana gets it done. So if you need somebody to guide you through the process, you need somebody to offer you mentorship. You need somebody who knows how to solve problems on the mortgage side. I would highly consider just giving her a call to consult with her. A lot of times she'll look at a good faith estimate, hear you out, hear what's going on, the circumstances of your transaction, and she can just be able to give you some advice. And so that may benefit to her in the form of profit immediately, or it may be down the road. Either way, it's a relationship business. And so it all comes back around eventually. All right, so we're going to get right into it today with 5 questions with Diana Will. These questions are in keeping with what we are trying to accomplish in the fourth quarter, which is building momentum, right? Finish strong, but build momentum that you're taking that into 2025. So build a pipeline of business. And a pipeline of business is something that I know Diana is very focused on. If she doesn't have a full pipeline, if she doesn't have expectations of things that are coming, opportunities that are going to present themselves, she's stressed out. So she's constantly working to keep that pipeline full. And this is something where real estate agents struggle. So today, this morning, we're going to just kind of merge, the two worlds a little bit and draw on her past experience as both a real estate agent and a mortgage loan officer. So without further ado, welcome, Diana Will.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. So let's get right to it. Question number 1. If you had to attribute your success as a real estate agent to one key factor, what would it be?
One key factor for me that I really felt like was what gave me, like, I excelled very quickly in real estate. I mean, I had 7 under contract like in the first couple weeks, and I maintained that. But well, first of all, I was scared to death. I was leaving a salary job, so I had to make it. I had to make money. And so, if you wake up every day without the mindset that you have to make money, um, you need to change your mindset because you have to make money. Money is our form of trade. So, like it or not, you have to make it. This is how we feed our family. This is how we drive our cars. And this is how we do all the things that we love to do. So, money is something that we have to have, whether we like it or not. So, I treated it like a job because I had to. So, I got up every day, I got dressed, and I went to the office every day, and I dialed every day. So I mean, I dialed first thing in the morning, and then if I wasn't able to earn myself appointments for the day, then I dialed all day long. I mean, there were days that I would dial 8 to 9 hours a day until I found an opportunity.
That's in contrast to, let's say, an alternate approach would be like, I'm just going to make phone calls for an hour or two, and then I'm going to take the rest of the day off.
Well,
Um,
that's gravy if you have 10 loans in your pipeline. And I do that on Fridays every once in a while. Like if life is good and my pipeline looks good, then I feel like I've earned it, and I'm okay with that. And if you feel like you've earned it, that's awesome. But if you don't have anything in your pipeline, you have not earned it at
right.
all, and you're fooling yourself if you're telling yourself that you have. So 1 hour a day is not sufficient if you are not meeting your goals.
It's also, it's a different approach too, because some agents, and it's just, this is one of the benefits of the real estate industry. It's not one size fits all. So some agents will make 2 hours worth of phone calls and then they'll get out of the office and they'll go preview properties. You had a different approach. You just used the MLS. You just scoured the MLS and made a bunch of phone calls, and it worked for you. And I wanted to kind of tell people what that looked like. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the most pending sales you ever had at any given time was around 12. That was with a showing assistant. Prior to a showing assistant, it was no less than 4 or 5 a month. Is that?
Yeah, usually seven, usually seven. Now,
Yeah.
let's also say this. I was selling in a buyer's market and I was a buyer's agent. It was a heavy buyer's market. I was selling in the foreclosure boom. So market knowledge was everything. Like I had to learn really fast. And in one day I might get 20 hits on one foreclosure. So I would run out there and look at that foreclosure. And I got a lot of business from being a foreclosure specialist on Zillow. So I would go look at properties, but I wasn't out like looking at new construction homes and stuff like that because that wasn't the market that I was selling in.
Yeah.
But I
Previewing every
did. So I
listing.
would go, yeah, I would go look at a new foreclosure because I needed to know about it because I learned loan programs and I knew there were some certain things about houses that had to be done or there to get it financed. So fortunate or unfortunate, I crave efficiency in everything I do. Sometimes it's to my detriment because I don't do things that I should be doing because it's not efficient to me. But so I would go look and make sure like it was a financeable property once I started like having stuff blow up. I would
Well,
go look at them.
the other thing I just wanted to mention is that, like, when you started on my team, there was like 10 other agents, buyers agents on the team. We had a lot of folks, 10 to 12 buyers agents. And they thought that because you were my wife, that was feeding you deals. And
Not true.
that was funny. But the thing was, you just said, "Hey, what do I need to do?" And I was like, "I'm going to give you a whole list of people to call every single day. That list is going to pile up. You just nurture that database every single day as best you can. You brought the relationship selling to it. You're not just calling people going, 'Hey, you ready to buy?' It's like, 'Hey, where are you from? What's your circumstances?' You went through, all the good qualifying questions, the LP mama, all that kind of stuff. And so you just didn't vary. You're just like, 'Hey, this is what I need to do. All right, I'm gonna focus. I'm just gonna execute on what you told me to do.' And it just worked very, very well for you."
Yes, but I think that people, and this is probably, I think this is one of the questions. I think it's the next one, so this will kind of segue us into that one. But um, the problem with people in mortgage and real estate is freedom. So, like number two is why do you think real estate agents struggle so much with consistency? It's because we have this freedom, but I didn't give myself freedom. Like I don't have freedom to make or not make money. I've got very expensive teenagers that live with me. And if we don't get to take a trip to Target or like have groceries, for me, freedom is being able to say yes or no to whatever I want. If I want to say no, I want to be able to say no. I never want to be in a position that I have to say no because of money. And so as a parent and as a sales leader and as a loan officer, my job is to, earn money every day. And so, it's not, I don't take a reactive approach to business on a daily basis. And I think that is what causes real estate agents to not be successful is they take a reactive approach instead of a proactive approach. Like our job every day is to find opportunity. And so that's what I did then. And that's what I do now. And that's what I'll continue to do as long as I'm selling. And that's what everybody here has to do.
Because you're absolutely right. Freedom's why agents get in the business, and it's why they fail. So
Correct.
it is a double-edged sword. But I like the earning of the freedom. The freedom for me is one of the biggest things ever. It's not it's a fine line between I can, so I do. Just because you have the freedom doesn't mean you use it, and people just get drunk off the freedom. So I love the fact that we're earning it. I know a lot of real estate agents today that have a daily goal. I'm going to set one appointment a day. And after they set that one appointment, then they feel like they've earned that freedom. And then there's agents like you. They're like, all right, I set one, but I know I need to set more in order to feed my family. Your goal was two. So you might say, all right, I've set 2 appointments, and you're like, all right, well, if that's 2 appointments a day, 5 days a week, I've set 10 appointments a week, then I can go on the field trip. So if you were taking freedom, it was not to just go run errands or do something trivial. It was to spend time with family, or to maybe spend some time on self-care, things like that. But it wasn't just, I mean, there's a lot of agents out there, they're just like staring at their computer. They're scrolling social media. They're watching, their news feeds and 24-hour news websites, and they're just distracted. Some of it's sports and sports betting. I mean, there's all kind of rabbit holes to go down.
Well, and I also was not selling real estate in that time. Now, that is an issue in my life now. But back in that day, like, I mean, I started selling real estate in like 2000, like really started selling real estate in 2010. I mean, I think that's the year that the iPhones came out. So, like, I don't think that I had the distractions, and I don't think I had the social media to distract me either. Now, I also didn't have it to help me. And I had never lived in Fairhope, so I had no sphere. I didn't know anybody other than the people that would be like, "You're married to Jason Will," and I'm like, "Yeah." Am I going to get popped or run over? Because he's from there. So, I had no sphere. So I didn't have anybody to rely on other than myself. But that is also how I grew up. So, like, if I wanted something, I had to go earn it. And I've always been that way. It makes me a little stubborn. It is what it is, but I like it. I like to earn. It makes me feel good about myself. And so I like to be an earner. I like to spend money.
Well, I have a top 5 priority list. And agents, I believe these should be the agent's top 5 priorities. The number one on that list is mindset. And I think, tiny hinges swing big doors. And so if you're listening to this call, you're watching the replay, you're looking for something to take away, maybe that's just one little tweak that you can make as to, how you approach things, how you look at things, and have an earn it approach. Have I earned it today? Have I earned this freedom today? And maybe that will serve you very, very well. All right. Number 3, how important is time blocking to sustaining a healthy pipeline of business?
Time blocking is mandatory. Like, it's a non-negotiable. You don't have an option.
I think I think keeping it simple, it's like, just to recap, if you had to attribute your success as a real estate agent to one key factor, it would be like you always felt like you had to earn it, right? Is that what we said?
Yeah, but it's not like even like a feel like you have a mortgage payment. Get your
That's right.
ass to work.
Treat
Like,
it like a job. That's right.
it
Number one
is
was,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, you don't get to just not go to work from 8 to 5 when you have a job and somebody's paying you. You get fired. Like, you got to earn it every day. Like, rent's due every single day. And so, in outside sales is also, I've told people this before, it's like a riptide. So, like, if you take your foot off a pedal for a week, you're 45 feet out and you got to fight like hell to get back in. And had you just stayed on it, you could stay at the surface. But instead, like, if you've ever seen a riptide, it'll take a human being 50 feet like that. And so, like, there's not an opportunity to not do, unless you don't want to be in it. And that's fine. Get a referral fee and hop on out.
All right. So recap. Number 1, I'm
Treat it like a job.
Yeah, I'm transitioning from questions to kind of maybe coaching homework. So number 1, you're going to start from this day forward treating real estate like it's
Let's
an
do this.
actual job.
Everybody go into the little comments and, like, put your hand up if you're dressed and can run to an appointment right now.
Oh shit. I mean, that's why we've got
You're not.
Most of the people with their cameras off. Well, I got my camera on.
Yeah, but you're not dressed in but that's the reality is, like, if we really want to earn this freedom and do all the things and go to the gym midday and do all of these things, like, truthfully, we need to be up at 5 a.m. or we need to be at the gym at 8 p.m. because, like, our day really needs to be 8 to 8. So, truthfully, if you got an opportunity and they said, come to my house right now, would you be able to take it? I would.
That's good. Number 1, treat it like a job. Number 2, change your approach from reactive to proactive. Number 3, time blocking is mandatory. All right. Number 4, How can having a solid understanding of loan programs help agents convert buyer leads into appointments?
The number one thing that hinders people from buying homes is money. It's money. That was a question. It's money.
Oh,
Okay. So what's the number one thing that hinders anybody from buying anything? Money, which is why we have to make a lot of it. But you also need to know about it. Like, your job is not to sell real estate. Your job is to guide people in the largest financial transaction of their lives. And so your job as a realtor is to pre-qualify people before, I mean, if they're not going to talk to a lender first, which whatever, that's a dead horse that I've beaten for as long as I can. They're going to come to the realtor first because they think number one is to find the house. Your job is to tell them that it's not number one to find the house. Their job is number one is to prepare for how they're going to pay for it. If they don't have enough money in the bank to pay for it, their job is to figure out how they're going to pay for it before they go to the store. You don't go to Walmart and fill up your buggy full of groceries with no plan. We figure out how we're going to pay for it, right? And so the number one step for realtors, first of all, is to pre-qualify your buyers. There's 3 simple things you can do to pre-qualify a buyer. Do you have a job? How much are you going to put down? Do you owe any money, back taxes, judgments, liens? If you can get those 3 things answered, which should be very easy questions to ask when we're professionals starting a process, you'll know very quickly if they're buyers. And if they're not, that's okay. I mean, like, I got a lead yesterday and he's got, he just got a car repoed last week. What am I going to do with that? Nothing, and neither is the agent. And so, while I appreciate the opportunity and I will always call them, but like, having a repo is one of those things where it's like, we're not getting anywhere fast with that.
well, sorry to interrupt, but just real
No, go ahead.
quick. I mean, it's very important, I think, to note that what we're talking about here essentially is that time is our biggest asset. And the more and deeper we go into this qualifying activity, the more time we're essentially going to get back. We're going to be wasting less and gaining back more time. The other thing I knew from just like studying you, observing what you were doing, and the reaction you were getting from the leads was, the research was telling us that people are registering on multiple websites, 3 to 5 real estate websites. So, I mean, I talk to people all the time. They're saying, I'm getting emails from like 5 different places, Zillow, these couple other agents, now you. So you got to set yourself apart. And one of the things I think you heard a lot was that the other agents weren't talking to them about money. And so you took more of that financial advisory role. And then just hearing things like, yes, I have a job. Yes, I've been on a job 2 years. Yes, I think my credit score is around, 675. I mean, you were going, okay, how much money do y'all earn as a family? How much money do you have to
Well,
put down? All
so
this kind of things.
yeah, so where it came from goes back to my craving efficiency. And I didn't grow up wealthy. So time and money were not a commodity for me. And so I've carried that into my adult life. So I wrote a contract. I wrote a USDA contract on a foreclosure with no floors, no sink, no stove. And then I gave it to the lender and he was like, LOL. And I was like, what you mean? He's come back. He was like, he's got no money. Like, what are you talking about? And he was like, how's he even going to put flooring in? I'm like, I mean, like, I don't know. So like, I at the beginning, I took a very transactional approach. Well, now it's like, now that I've been doing this for as long as I have, I was like, oh, well, I mean, that makes sense. So I'm trying to put this guy with no money into a house that's not truly livable. It's not safe, sanitary, and secure. Shame on me. And so I was like, so I sat down with my lender and I wrote out a mortgage cheat sheet and I printed a fresh one out every single day with my updated notes. I kept it in my back pocket. I still give this out. I'll make sure that y'all have it today. And I learned what had to happen. And I learned the basics, the very basics of a loan, so that when I'm talking to somebody, I can at least put them in a box. I can put them in a USDA box. I can put them in a conventional box. I can put them in an FHA box to figure out what at least I know will work. And then when they look at a house, they say, hey, I want to see this. And I say, well, listen, we have you pre-approved for USDA. Do you have money to flip to a conventional loan? And they say no. And I said, well, this house won't go USDA. So let's just keep looking, because I don't want to spend an hour and a half showing something to somebody that's not going to qualify. Maybe they qualify, but the house doesn't, right? So when a mortgage company's looking at giving you a loan, there's a reason we do an appraisal. We're not just going to trust that the buyer says it's worth 150. That's what we're going to lend you. So, there's a checks and balance that happens between the mortgage company, the house, and the buyer. And so there's a reason for that. So you need to know the basics of, seller paid closing costs. If it's a conventional only house and it's $150,000, but your buyer needs all of their closing costs paid, it's probably not going to work. Does anybody know why? Because you can only get 3% seller concessions on a conventional loan with little down payment. So these are the things that y'all need to know. So, FHA, USDA, you can get 6%, but on conventional, if they're putting the minimal amount down, you can only get 3%. So if it's a $150,000 house, they're only getting $4,500. That's not going to cover closing costs if they don't have it, right? So we're already squeezing a square peg through a round hole. So these are just little things that would be beneficial that so that you can be of value to these people. They don't want to waste their time either. Or maybe they got to have this house. Well, then let's figure out how to do it. You got to come up with some money. If you can do that, let's roll. But, I think the reason that realtors don't always have a great reputation is because it's more about the sale. It feels more about the sale than it feels about taking care of people. And so if you can have this conversation on the phone and say, listen, I totally understand where you're coming from about wanting this house. Based on the financials that you shared with, my lender, I'm not sure that we can make this work. And let me tell you why. It's not because of you, but it's because of the house. So if you can have this approach with people from a really kind way and set proper expectations, then they're going to start coming to you. That's what I did. I started training my clients, and they would come to me and they'd be like, hey, do you think this will go USDA? And then it got to a point where I just had to hide a stove, right? We had a stove in a storage unit, and I would just go grab it, put it in there for the appraisal. And, we just rotated the sucker around town all the time. But because I learned it, I could do it. And so, you got to get the opportunities, but you also have to treat the opportunities correctly and set correct expectations. I'm sure I went off on a tangent. Not even sure where we are.
The question, I got a follow-up question to question number 4 is, I love what you said about if I knew if I learned it, I could do it. How did you educate yourself? I mean, I know I'm kind of building up to a segue to the mortgage cheat sheet, but did somebody prepare a mortgage cheat sheet for you? Did you take
No,
loan
I
officers?
asked my lender to go sit down. I took my lender to lunch, is what I did. I said, let me have an hour of your time. But he also knew I was very dedicated. He got 100% of my transactions, 100%. If I had an opportunity to send it to him, I did, because it was important to build a team. And I knew that if I had his back, he had mine, and I got his referrals. He got all of mine. And if I needed him to take a phone call at 11 o'clock at night, he did, because he knew I was serious. And he and I probably closed 4 or 5 deals a month together. And I'm telling you, the customer service that I got, because he was my guy, was superb. And so if you don't, and this isn't selling you on Diana, I don't care if you use me or not, truthfully. If you want to use me, I would love to have a relationship with you. But if you're the type of person that gives out 3 lenders, I would urge you to look at your process. I would urge you to look at your process, is all I'd like to say. But if you work with somebody consistently, you learn each other, right? And then you're going to spend time with each other. You're going to get really good customer service. So I took my lender to lunch and I asked him a bunch of questions. So one of the things I was running into was Fannie Mae sent closing cost. And so I was like, okay, well, teach me about this. Why can I only get 3%? Where can I get more money? So then I sat down. And it just spiraled, then, we talked about loan limits. I didn't even know about FHA loan limits. I didn't know about conforming loan limits or anything like that. So I asked all of the questions. He gave me the basics, and I typed up my mortgage cheat sheet, and it's what I still use today with updated loan amounts.
I do think it's important. I mean, we have, essentially, I think it sounds like pretty brand new agent, pretty green agent on the call with us today. So You call me, I'm a lead. You say, hey, this is Diana with, at the time it was the Jason Moore real estate team. It's the first time you've talked to them. You know, you're updating your file, see if they're still in the market to buy a home. They've already purchased a property. How do you segue the conversation into qualifying questions around lending?
Okay, so I do the exact same thing in mortgage that I did in real estate. I still know my real estate script backward and forwards. I still freaking say it on the phone as a lender because I still dial every single day to people. Hey, it's Diana with Mortgage Right. I do say I'm a preferred lender for Jason Will and his real estate team, or Blake Ray and his real estate team, whoever's lead it is. I say their name, real estate team. I was just calling to update my files. I wanted to see if you're indeed in the market to buy a home or to see if you've already purchased a property. I shut up. They talk. And then based on whatever they say, I always give an affirmation. That's awesome. Congrats, yada, yada. And then usually it'd be like one more qualifying question. Do you have a house to sell? You know, are you currently renting? Something super simple like that. And then what I do now is I say, do you mind if I just ask you a few questions to take us down the path to see if there's any red flags? And they say, no, totally fine. And then I pull out my intake form, which I still use. I did this in real estate. I still do it in mortgage. And I ask them all the questions. And I just tell them, I said, listen, I'm just going to take some notes. I'm going to ask you some questions. This will at least, and I tell them, this will let me put you in the loan box that you belong in. And then we can dissect that further. Is that okay? And they say, yes, always, because they do want help. I get name. I find out who their realtor is. I get their phone number, email. Where do you work? How long have you worked there? How much do you make? Do you get paid W-2, salary, hourly? You know, are you, self-employed? If yes, do you file taxes? We talk about monthly debts. How much do you have in the bank? You know, all that stuff. Do you own other properties? You know, there's all these little things, but like at the end of the conversation, I can tell you if they will qualify for a loan or not, if they've told me the truth.
Well, and I think the point that I'm not sure we've hammered home enough is that the buyers on the other end felt like you were setting yourself apart because, you know, we were talking about how they register on multiple websites.
Right.
Typically, what was happening was they were getting emailed or texted from these other agents. Rarely was it a phone call. And then if there was a phone call, it was just like, hey, you ready to buy? What you looking for? Whereas you just took this, you know, consultative approach, you know, started educating them on loan programs and ins and outs and finding, you know, trying to self-discover, you know, potential red flags, all these different things. So at the end of the conversation, and plus there's a lot of side things. So if they say, oh, I do this for a living, you go, oh, that's fascinating. Tell me a little bit more about that. Or, oh, you know, my goal is to move closer to my grandkids. Oh my gosh, tell me about those grandkids real quick. So you did have a very solid relationship based approach on top of, you know, a very professional, very tactical approach to, you know, seeing if these people are viable, right? So it was a very, very powerful, I think, approach that worked really, really well.
Well, I think the reality is that you have to genuinely want to help people, and you have to genuinely like people. You know, like it comes across genuine because it is for me. Like I truly get joy out of seeing people buy homes. I know it changes trajectories of whole families when people buy homes. I know that. I have seen it. I have lived it. It's where, you know, Jason and I have made money. And it's like, it's the coolest thing. But I have also seen a house that I've sold show up on the foreclosure block, and that don't feel good either. So yeah, I mean, so we have an obligation, and it needs to be relationship. You know, like you need to be able to pick up the phone right now, because I promise you 25% of your database is financially hurting. And you need to be the one calling them and checking in. Like, are you guys good? Like, the economy sucks right now. Like, people are hurting. I look at credit reports every day. I know how much debt's out there. But people are struggling, and you need to be the one that can pick up the phone that they can open up to and say, no, we're not okay. Like, we've got to figure out a way to save money. And y'all should be able to look at a mortgage statement and see if they can save money. And if you can't do that, you need to get help.
Well, we just had a real life example of that. We had a potential, you had a potential mortgage client. I had a potential seller client, would have been around a $500,000 listing. Great payday for both of us, but that was not the best choice. Like, selling, downsizing. I mean, they had an incredible interest rate. They needed to stay put, do some debt consolidation, do some other things. So, in that instance, we put the relationship over the transaction, over the
Always.
commission. So,
Yeah.
very, very,
And then it will always come back. But that's the reason she only feels comfortable talking to me about these things, is because she knows I don't judge her. I have her back. I will tell her what's in her best interest. I know her family. I know all 12 of her kids' names. Like, I just know those things, and she knows that. And that to me is like one of the biggest paychecks, is knowing, like, somebody that I haven't done a mortgage for in 3 years will reach out to me and say, "Hey, I need your ear. You got 20 minutes for me."
love
And so if you're not that person for your clients, or you've fallen out, like, call them,
Yeah,
call them and be that person.
100%. All right, number 5. If you were to leave mortgage tomorrow, get back into selling general real estate, what are 2 to 3 things you'd focus on most to build your business?
I would not do that. It's not any different than what I'm doing now. A piece of content every day, social selling every day, and 15 voice to voices every day. And y'all, don't overthink it. I overthink it all the time. But like, you get emails all the time from everything. Like yesterday, I literally took a screenshot, posted it, and I got a lead. She just called me while we were on the phone. I got a lead from a realtor that I sent a message to the other day because she rebranded, and I wasn't trying to be nosy, but I care. And so I said, "Hey girl, I saw a rebrand. What's going on?" So we started talking. She hasn't sent me a lead in 2 years. And I got a lead yesterday from social selling on social media.
Yeah, so you're numbers oriented, relationship oriented, but also efficiency oriented. And so, I don't want, I'm speaking for you, but
No,
you
that's
take it
all
from here.
accurate. I also am a mom. And so sliding in sideways at 5:45 at daycare, whether or not Jason could pick up our kids, didn't matter to me. I wanted to be there. It was important to me to be there. Now, there is freedom in selling real estate, but if I didn't earn it, I didn't allow myself to have it. And so I love mortgage. I love the puzzle piece. So I loved selling real estate in the fact that I loved the people. I loved the negotiations. Now, I love to negotiate a contract. I still try to help all these realtors. I'm like, no, ask your broker, but this is what I would
Mhm.
do. But I love to be able to do it from wherever. And I will say this. I do feel like people treat mortgage professionals as professionals, where they don't so much as realtors.
I'd say that's fair. I mean, we earn that, just in case anybody's wondering. I mean,
Well, I do agree. But it's the same barrier of entry, which is crazy. Yeah. So I don't know why, but like, we went to Dollywood last week or the week before, and somebody was like, "I'm so sorry to bother you on vacation." And anytime somebody says that, I make sure I tell them I do what I do, and I get to answer the phone, but I get to do it from Dollywood. So like, I have gratitude that I get to do it from Dollywood, not that like I'm doing it at Dollywood. Like, I'm at damn Dollywood. And I'm getting a lead from a realtor that I have been trying to get business from for 2 years. Like, call me. I'm going to answer my phone, and I get to do it sitting at, looking at leaves and pumpkins. So like, I think if you have a mindset of gratitude, um, like, I don't ever 100% clock out, but like on Sundays, I don't have to look at my phone. It's rare. You know what I mean? So like, I think if you really, really look at like your call log for the past couple days and what you've really done, if you went to your sent folder, we ain't doing what we think we're doing. Our brain has a funny way of tricking us that we're doing all this stuff, but we're not.
what we need to understand is that whether you're on the mortgage side or the general real estate sales side, it's still proactive over reactive. You still have to
Always.
get out there. I mean, this is what kind of blows my mind, it makes Blake Ray's blood pressure go way up. It's like we tell people, do a piece of content a day, And they don't do it while they're with our brokerage, but they go to another brokerage and they just start blowing up as a social media rock star. It's like, dude, we were telling you to do all those things while you're here, but you got to be worried about the grass is always greener type of
The grass
mindset.
is only greener where you water it.
Yeah. So you're going to have to build, like you're building relationships with realtors. You're taking them to lunch, taking them to coffee, schmoozing them. You're doing door knocking with those agents. You're going to the open houses on top of, and I want to get some clarification on this, the 15 voice to voice. So what, unpack that. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but are you, I'm assuming you're counting phone calls and face-to-face interactions.
Yeah,
Okay.
face to face is separate. So I have been doing this since, when did we get licensed? 2004.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been in real estate mortgage since 2004, property management, all the things. I have a business coach. I have a coach. I have a call every week. I have accountability. I have group texts. Like, professionals get coached. Professionals get coached. So I have, which I've got this blur on, so I don't know if you
Yeah.
can
What
see
does
it,
it
but I
say?
keep,
Just read it to us.
okay, so I keep this on my computer every day. So one piece of content, 10 social media comments, 3 DMs, one event, one video message, which I suck at. I ain't doing them. 10 to 12 voice to voices, one break bread, and 3 face to faces. If I can do that every day, I've earned whatever the rest of the day looks like.
All right.
So that's 30 touches. So I have to get 30 touches a day. Now I have to do 3 times the volume that you have to do to make money, because I make a third of what you make, right? So, I mean, if you get 15 touches a day, that's a freaking solid win, you know?
All right. So one thing I wanted to mention, just kind of a little side talking point, is yesterday I called a lead in Boomtown that registered she's been in the system 4 years, have sent her emails. I'm not even sure. Like, I know I've tried to call her, I've tried to get her, I've sent a text, I've sent an email. I think I got this lead from somebody else. She registered organically through Google, and she's 4 years old and is reactive has started to get active on the site again. So I just called her yesterday. I mean, she was looking at a property that was like $900,000 in Fair Oaks. So I just called her and left a message. She was at work, but she called me after work. She was like, "Thank you so much for calling me. I've been meaning to call you and reach out to you because I do have questions. I do need help." And your voicemail was kind of that trigger that got me there. So, how many people, like Diana was saying, like, call these people? How many people in your database right now would really appreciate a phone call? And I know kind of human nature is we look at that age and go, "Oh, they've been in the system 4 years. They haven't done anything. They're a waste of time." Um, I don't know if you or Blake have anything you'd want to share in that regard.
Those are the only ones, in my opinion, that are worth the crap.
I mean, we know online leads are at a minimum of 18 months out. I mean, they just get warm at 2 years.
So I'll give you some backstory on this particular lead. The reason that she registered so early was she lives in Tennessee. I haven't really gotten down to the nitty gritty on why Fair Oak is on her radar. I'm assuming, she's visited. She did a girls' trip. She's got family there, but like her and I'm not sure if it's friends or family. They want to start a tiny home. They want to live on the same property. They want to buy a big piece of acreage, put tiny homes on it, and just spend the rest of their lives together in retirement. And it's a cool idea, but they were in
Lender's
that.
nightmare. Lender's nightmare.
Well,
That's 3 dwelling units.
they have cash. They're going to pool their
Okay, good.
cash together and do all this stuff.
They ain't gonna be able to sell it.
They were trying to select their destination. And so, they've been doing research and just kind of keeping an eye on the market and looking at different things. And now I think they've made a decision. And so how many people that, despite how long they've been in your CRM, your database, if they're still active, if they're still visiting the website, have you touched those people? And what is keeping you from touching those people? When you're touching those people, do you sound like a robot or you sound like somebody who actually gives a crap? Blake?
Just want to say one thing. Obviously, because we've had people leaving, and I mentioned this to you. One thing I've seen that's almost repetitious on agents that haven't succeeded is something so simple as setting up e-alerts. They're too passive with their e-alerts too. Like they'll set for 2 months to get
Yeah.
What?
We have
Yeah.
we have an agent who worked with us here in Ross Bridge, had probably, I don't know, I'm just going to say 10 leads from open houses, had phone numbers, email addresses, no e-alert set up.
monthly, maybe, even if they have one at the very least.
Yeah. So, and I'm talking, since I've set them up on e-alerts, they're looking at these properties and they're nice price points. So it's just like, what you doing? So it's all about staying in front of them. Another problem I see real estate agents have, they just think, all right, we have one good conversation and now I'm their realtor for life. And that's not true. That's not the case. Might be the case sometimes, but it's the exception, not the rule. All right, I think we got some good stuff here. I'm going to post the recap as I always do in the collab community, along with a picture of Diana's little sticky note. If somebody needs like a social media or social selling system, that sounded like a really, really good one. Does anybody have any questions for her before we go?
If you're not on my weekly, and only text me if you're going to find value or use it. If you don't want to be on my weekly text, that's totally fine. I don't care. But I do send out a weekly rate text on Fridays. I feel like it's really good data. Everybody that I ask says it's something that they use throughout the week in conversations. So some, it's random stuff about the market. It's a blurb, and then I send you a pretty rate text, just with an FHA, VA, and conventional idea of rate for the week. You're not allowed to post it on social media, but it's something that you can use. If you need to send it to a client, you can do that, but it can't be posted. So I send that out every Friday. I'm happy to add you to that. And then I will also, if you text me, I will send you my mortgage cheat sheet right back to.
In your app.
Yeah, so I have a personalized app. I haven't been real good at getting people set up on that, but I do have a personalized app. So the app will have your picture, your logo, your Boomtown link. So like if the brokerage doesn't provide an app, you can at least send this. So the goal with this, what?
Just the calculator alone has probably saved me additional.
Yeah, so it's got a really cool calculator that will cap your loan limits. It'll put your PMI in, but then it also is branded. So you can have a branded app. So you can say, hey, I'm going to send you my app. You can shop for homes on here, because our goal is to keep people off of Zillow and keep them on your site. And then it will also allow you to stalk them. So you'll get a notification when they download it. You'll get a notification when they calculate. So it's just another way for you to be in flow with your people and just have these nudges. And so anytime I get a nudge, I just reach out. Hey, I was thinking about you today. How are you? Are you still searching for a home? What's going on? Give me an update. What's your situation? And so for me, big net, lots of people, but I want to have, I want to get in flow with as many people as I can. And so any way I can do that is a win for me.
Well, before I let you go, I just wanted to mention that Lawrence Yun, the chief economist at NAR, whatever he is, said that 6%, like I think around the new year, in 2025, he was saying 6% is going to be the new normal standard for interest rates. If we're lucky, 5.5, but he was pretty firm on 6%.
Well, the market sucks. I mean, we lost 75 basis points yesterday.
Yeah, we're creeping up. Are we at 7 today? We're at 6.82 yesterday.
That's not preventing people from buying homes. I read the Zillow buyer consumer report the other day, and I think the rents have gone up 8-9% in the.
They have.
So to put that in perspective, I think money's important. Why people don't buy houses, but I think they look at that monthly payment.
Well, so yes, affordability is an issue. So, but it's affordability of getting into a house. It's money. Like millennials and first-time home buyers, unless they're getting a gift, they don't have it. People don't have. I mean, a starter home now is $300,000. The cheapest you're going to get in is 3% down, and that's if you have a 750 credit score. So let's say 3.5%. That's $10,000. People don't have $10,000, and then you tack on $7,000 worth of closing costs. Your barrier of entry to get into a starter home is $17,000, and then you got to have reserves. So really, it's 20. So, and you still have to have reserves. So like even with Alabama housing, if somebody's getting in with no money, okay, let me give you this scenario. 711 credit score, $293,000, but it's a condo. Her payment's going to be like $2,500 a month. She's got $7,500 in the bank and $5,000 in retirement, and I cannot get her approved. Cannot get her approved. Now, all day long, she's an FHA buyer, but it's a condo, so we can't go FHA. It's not approved. So now we got to get a co-signer, which is fine. Like, it's going to work out. But I mean, those are the things. So even, like, I believe that the government's trying to take over the housing market. I do believe that. I think there's a reason that FHA PMI went down. I think there's a reason that conventional is harder to get into. There's a reason that conventional rates are higher than government-backed loans. But it is what it is. People still have to get into houses. So like if we can push them into government-backed loans, which is FHA, USDA, VA, then their payments are going to be better. So, the conventional piece is what's making things difficult right now. The Fannie and Freddie is tough.
All right. So do you think Lawrence is optimistic? It sounds like.
Yes. Well, so China yesterday, they reduced the value of their yen. I don't even know what it is. Yeah. So they dropped their daily rate by 25 basis points. So yesterday I think we ended the day down like 65 basis points. A basis point is a percentage. So yesterday, based on what loan was that? Based on a $393,000 loan yesterday. So these people are under contract for like $495. They're putting 25% down. I had them quoted at a 6.5 was costing 1 point. 1 point would have been $4,000. Yesterday it was 1.75 points. So it was, I think it was $7,800. So the swing in the market, well, it could affect his rate, but it affected the cost of his rate by $3,500, or his rate would be a 6.875 versus a 6.5 costing the same amount. That's a big swing in a day. $3,000.
Well, I think it's important to note here, and it just also, reinforce what Blake was saying, is that we're going to have some agents that are either on this call or watching the replay that are waiting. They're waiting. They're like, oh, just things are bad right now. I'm just going to wait. They say after the first of the year, we're going to 5.5. Then I'm really going to get my business ramp up. If you do that, your 2025 is FUBAR. So, that's why we're in this finish strong.
Even 7%, sorry for interrupting. Even 7% is it historic. I mean, it's an average rate, right? It's not the highest we've seen in the past decade.
I have a Facebook memory the other day. It was like 8.2%.
Yeah.
It popped up in my memory. So,
I mean, Jason and I's first house, I think we were like 8.375 or 7.75. And that was during the boom. I mean, Jason, we lost 12 to 14 houses in multiple offer situations in the 8. And so every time we think things are going to get better, it's a new fresh hell. I mean, it's just going to continue to spiral into chaos. It is what it is. The government is the puppet master. We're the puppets. So you just got to figure out how to play the game. If you're going to wait, that's fine. Hang your license in the referral market, go get a job. You're going to be a waiter. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of people hiring. Delta's taking customer service people. You can work from home, make a paycheck, YOLO, probably get some benefits, but
Dinah's trying to get me to drive a school bus.
We need good insurance. Hell.
I can get you on that McCullough.
She's like, wake your ass up and go drive that school bus.
I know you don't like kids and all, but I mean, a pension and good insurance. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Y'all. Let's roll. Dinah, we appreciate your time. Great stuff this morning. For everybody else on the call, I'm going to try to really start getting some guests on more consistently, but Dinah is always a good one. If you guys need us for any reason, you know how to find us, and we'll see you next week.